All right, so this is the commentary for the Seasons EP. We're going to start with Autumn here, and this intro was just born out of me noodling around with some chord shapes. I moved it around like 4 times, and I just kind of settled on like uh, I guess it'd be like a D, and then I slid it up to an E because it just sounded the best for the atmosphere that I was going with. It was originally clean guitars, but in this re-recording I used like an acoustic sim on my guitar and put the clean guitar in the center and moved it in the back. This riff, I have no idea where this riff came from. It's just a big, heavy, stompy riff. But the thing with these songs was they were all gear demos, or parts of gear demos that got put together, so there's really no rhyme or reason. Like a lot of my songs, I have themes in my head when I write them. I didn't really have that with these. The themes kind of came later. But one thing I wanted to do, since these were supposed to be instrumentals, is have like these big heavy guitars and have something else going on to kind of take place of the vocals. So that's why you get like these octavey strums and counterpoints and melodies and stuff like that. Like this one's pretty basic, but this was the one that kind of inspired the idea of the Journey album that I put out, where like each song kind of represents a season or a emotion or something like that. And I never really liked the guitar sound on this one, so I wanted to re-record it because this song seemed to connect with people in a way that I wasn't anticipating. So I re-recorded it, and I thought, the hell with it, let me just do like a whole season thing. This part's weird for me because this isn't really typical of what I write. We got the big heavy guitars in the back, and I couldn't really come up with anything to go over them, so I just kind of sat there and hammered on a note and bent it up maybe a quarter a step or something before we went into this bridge. But like that kind of stuff I don't usually do that. That's very probably nu metal-y of me, or Deftones-ish. I don't know where that comes from, but I like, and I have to rein it in because I can overdo it, but I really like the sound of having an octave pedal and blending the dry guitar tone and then the octave tone 50-50, because it just adds a nice little thing. And then that part there always bugs me because I feel like that doesn't come through the way I want it to come through, because I want everything to stop and then have that and everything comes back in. It turned out better on this one, but I don't know, I just can't get it to sound the way I want to. I hear it in my head, but I guess it works. But then we bring back the big open chords, and this time I only play that opening line on the, like, I guess it's the bottom of a D5 or D major, I don't know. I'm not good with theory. And then we roll back into the main riff with the octaves going to close out the song. Like I said, I mean, it's all built around just trying to be interesting and show off the instrument that I'm demoing. So now we're in Winter. And this intro came from the Netflix Punisher TV show, because I really like the soundtrack to that. And I wasn't trying to like duplicate it or anything like that. I wasn't trying to like rip it off. I just kind of wanted something with that same like atmosphere to it, and this was what I came up with. Now, it wasn't intended to be the intro to this song. It was just something I had, and it was completely separate from what ended up becoming parts of this song. This is probably one of the bigger mishmashes because of this intro. The main riff has a little bit of a theme from this intro because it has the din in it, but that sounded very Super Mario Brothers. I wish I could remember that guy's name, but that did the music for The Punisher. I want to say Brian Reitzel, but it wasn't Brian Reitzel. But anyways, Tyler Bates. It was Tyler Bates. But this riff, I incorporated that. Like, I always want to carry something over, carry a theme throughout the song. to kind of tie everything together. So that's why this has that dan at the end of the riff. Now this part, I love this part. This part was a completely separate gear demo, so this had nothing to do with this song. It just happened to work really well together. So anything that has this like kind of bluesy lead stuff over it in this song was not part of the original. Like, this is essentially two different gear demos that were smushed together into one song. Now, you can't really hear it too well, but that riff in the background is kind of Opethy. I think I kind of like, it reminds me of the Grand Conjuration, the bridge in that song during the Whispered Conjuration, A Belief Takes Hold part. And then here we are with the octave guitar again. Like I said, I can overdo this because I really like the sound, and I try not to. But, you know, at the time, these songs weren't all designed to kind of go together in any way, shape, or form. But I think it brings, it kind of retains a heaviness, but it kind of brings things down a little bit so you can build back up and then go into something like this. And to me, I think that's one thing that, now granted, I write songs that are just on 100 from beginning to end, but dynamics and just kind of having that, like that push and pull tension to a song, to me is pretty important. So I like having these kind of ebbs and flows. I don't do a lot of clean guitar work. There's a lot on these songs, but for the most part I don't. So that's kind of my way of like kind of bringing the tension back and forth. This part always seemed a little chaotic to me. You know, I thought about rewriting this ending because this is how it is in the original version of the song, and I thought about rewriting the ending, but then to me that kind of defeated the purpose of it. Like, you know, I'm not George Lucas with the Star Wars films. I can't keep changing things every time I do something. And the purpose was to re-record them, not rewrite them. Now we're on Spring, which this is a tough one because it's weird to name a song Spring and not make it seem cheesy. But this intro comes from this is the first one that just kind of really comes right in. All the others kind of have this build to them, but this song was written completely from scratch for this EP. And this intro comes from a Sunday with Ola thing that I did. I forget what number, but it had this, and I think it had the next part. I can't remember. But this part, it kind of worked for me, but the rest of the stuff that was in that particular Sunday with Ola didn't work. Actually, now that I think about it, this might not have been part of that Sunday with Ola. This might have been a different thing, but because I feel like I had to change the key of this. But this kind of, you know, talking about carrying themes through, like this isn't exactly like what's in winter, but it kind of brings that feel through because, you know, sometimes you still have a little bit of winter in your spring. But this is a new riff. I kind of like that. I don't know where that came from, though. I think that was written from scratch for this. I think from here on out, everything was written from scratch. Yeah, because this riff is, believe it or not, this was a riff that I had in a, as of right now, unreleased project. And it was written in A-sharp standard, but I kind of used the same shapes. Now, these songs up to this point, Autumn, Winter, and Spring, are all in drop C sharp. And they're played on a Epiphone Les Paul Standard, a 1996 translucent wine red model with an EMG 57 and 66 set. Now, this part here, I should note, I wanted to include something with these Chinese lanterns because that kind of, it's a personal thing for me that I'm not going to get into here. But I went to one of those festivals for like a loved ones that are gone type of thing. So I wanted to work that into the imagery. But anyways, you know, kind of wrapping it up with like the end of spring here, you know, fireworks and all that stuff, and parties and things like that that happen when, because it's still technically spring when school lets out and the parties start ramping up. And the owls, just because I love owls, I think they're cool. Now summer, this is the oddball song out of the group. This one is on the original version was a demo for a Telecaster I built that I tuned to open C. So this one's in open C. And for the re-recording, I used my Sienna Sunburst Stratocaster because I wanted that thick humbucker sound. And the Telecaster just had single coils in it. I had to kind of rework the intro a little bit. It's basically the same, but I cleaned it up a little bit because the original was really loose. And with the delay and the reverb, it sounded, it like falls off the rails towards the end. So I had to kind of retool the intro a little bit. I couldn't quite pick out what I was playing towards the end of the original one, because this goes on for a little bit, then it shifts to a different riff, and that was right here. I couldn't tell what I was doing, so I just kind of approximated it as closely as I could and tried to like not let it get so messy. This Stratocaster sounds great. For the tones, all these songs, you know, the different guitars, there's only 2 guitars, but they're all through my Line 6 Helix, and the main big chunky beefy guitars are the Rev Red, and the melodies and the octave guitars and stuff like that are the Rev Purple, through a Mesa oversized cab and a orange EPC 4x12 impulse response. Both of them are impulse responses, but those were the cabinets that the impulse responses were for. I love this part, but it reminds me of Pretty Woman for some reason. I know it's not like exactly like Pretty Woman, but for some reason it makes me think of that song. Like, this is fucking heavy. Even in the original, this part was really heavy, and it was just like a single coil Telecaster that was double tracked. I don't have as much to say about this song because I really don't. This was just a lot of, like, if you ever go and watch that Telecaster video, like, it's just riffs. There's no backing tracks or anything like that, and then I just pieced them together into this song. And we got the build up again. And then we're going to go into the bridge and the outro. So this part, it sounded pretty ominous, so I kind of wanted some ominous imagery. You know, towards the end of summer, we start getting hurricanes and stuff like that. But this is the part where I should fess up that this outro 100% comes from Devin Townsend. This specifically, I got this idea from By Your Command, and it is 100% the same fucking thing he plays in that song, except I keep it in one position, he moves it around. Now for the ending, I wanted something that just kind of like, I did change the ending. The original had like a gallop, and it just didn't work. So I went for more of like just this, like, I wanted it to sound like a storm was just bearing down on you and was going to wipe out everything in its way. And I think it kind of does that, but I don't know. It's heavier than what the original was, that's for sure. I could have probably edited that footage at the end a little bit better. That was a little rough, but that's Seasons. So hopefully I kept that interesting for you for the last 15 minutes. If not, I'm sorry. This is my first time. I want to thank everybody for the support over the last year with all this music stuff. And if you're new, welcome aboard. And hopefully I keep doing things that are interesting and you guys stick around.